Hey there, Johnny May here, and welcome to this week's Quick Tip. And for this Quick Tip, we've brought in one of our amazing Piano with Johnny teachers, Dane Jordan, to share some of his tools, tips, and tricks with you at the piano. So Dane, take it away.
Hey guys, Dane Jordan here. Welcome to this quick tip on Canon and D. I'm so excited to share this with you. It's one of my favorite pieces to play for a wedding or just for fun. Now, if you've ever tried to learn Canon and D, you would find that it's hard to find a decent sheet music arrangement for it that's good and easy to learn for piano. Let me let you in on a little secret. Canon and D wasn't actually written for piano at all. It was actually written for strings, which is why every sheet music you find is completely different from one another. So instead of just picking a random one, learning it note for note, we're actually going to break Canon D down and make our own arrangement as easy or as hard as we want. We're going to learn the basic melodies, we're going to learn the chords, some left-hand accompaniment patterns, some right-hand embellishments, and we're going to put it all together that you get to decide how you want to play Canon and D. So really excited, guys. Let's jump right in. Okay, so our first step is going to be learning our melodies. So let's go ahead and pick our melodies. Now, the original Canon and D has some 28 melodies total in the whole piece, but we're just going to keep it simple and stick with 3 here. You can kind of pick which ones you want. If you're more of a beginner, the first 2 are probably your best choice. If you're more intermediate or maybe approaching the advanced level, then you can try some melody number 3. This is actually one of the most well-known melodies as well in the piece. But these ones can be easily developed into very cool stuff with the techniques we're going to discuss in this lesson. So here's our first melody here. This one's super, super easy and super well-known for Canon and D. We're going to take a nice slow tempo. Watch your key signature, guys. Remember, this is a key of D major. Okay, so basically we have F sharp and C sharp. So anytime you see those, make sure they're sharped. Okay, so here we go. Here's the first one. Let's go like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so hopefully you kind of recognize that one. The fingering I recommend is basically 3, 2, 1, and then you cross 3, 2, 1. And you can easily get that. So 1, 2, 3, pretty easy. All right, melody number 2, you guys. This one kind of takes it up a step a little bit in terms of the speed. You see, these ones are all half notes, so we're going accenting every 2 beats. So you can think of that as a pulse, a half note pulse. But now this one is going a little faster. It's going quarter notes each time. So it's a quarter note pulse. So it's a little bit more energy. So you want to keep that in mind for our last point here in the lesson. So let's try and play this one. This one's down an octave here. Okay, and this one's a little bit interesting fingering. Okay, let's go over it a little bit. You can stick with your 5 fingers here. So 1, 3, 5, 4. Okay, but here you do want to cross. I tend to go to my pinky on that F sharp and beat 3 there, measure 2, and then something like this, I'll be 3. You can also probably go to your 4. Yeah, maybe you can go your 4 too if that feels more comfortable. So for now, we'll just try that, and then we'll go 3, 2. Okay, then the beauty of this is now our thumb is ready to hit that low B there. Okay, so that's kind of why we did that. Now our pinky is still available for that A that we jump right up to, and then I like to put my thumb here. It's a little bit of an interesting hand gymnastics there, but I put my thumb there, and then my pinky is ready for this note, the B, and then back down, step down. Okay, so now I end on my 3, but my 1 is ready. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to kind of loop these melodies as much as we want, especially in a wedding context. You know, you don't know how long the people, the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, they're all going to walk down. So sometimes you kind of have to get used to, looping these melodies, developing it more, going back to other melodies, and so forth. But it's all part of the the arrangement that you're creating. So it's totally flexible. So that's what's cool about it. But yeah, you want to be able to kind of loop back around if you need to. So let's play it once straight through. 3, 4. Okay, so that's one you can develop. Now let's go to melody number 3. Okay, this one's a little bit more advanced. I'm gonna go over the fingering first. So I'm gonna do 5, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm gonna use my scale fingering. So if you're familiar with that, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this one, you might want to go to your pinky on the F sharp. For me, I can kind of stretch from the 3 finger, so it's not a huge deal. But if you can't do that as well, you might want to go, maybe switch, right? Maybe go to the 4 finger on E, so that way your 5 is right there, okay? But either way, you want to be on 1 on this F sharp. You want this to be like that, okay? And then you're just going to use your fingers, should be easy from this point. Then go to your thumb on this G, and cross to the F sharp. Okay, and then scale fingering, so we're gonna cross into the G. Okay, now we're going here. So now 5, and then we're gonna go back to our scale fingering. So guys, if you haven't learned all your scale fingerings and stuff like that, that's really gonna help you out in doing all this stuff, especially in a classical type of context, which this is. Go over your beginner's fundamental courses, your foundations that we have at Piano with Jonny, where we go over all the different key courses and the scales and everything so forth related to that. So that will really help you out. Next, let's go to our step number 2, guys. We're gonna learn the chords for Canon and D. And this is really the key aspect of this whole process here, because once we know our chords and our melodies, basically we can create tons of unique patterns or in different patterns, whatever we want really, in the left hand, and we can add harmony notes in the right hand, because everything is really based on the chords that we're on at the moment. Okay, and those really kind of guide us to our note choices, that and the scale, of course. But so we really want to know our chords. So let's learn our chords here. These are really simple chord progression here, guys. And this is a super common chord progression, by the way. Not only in this time, but actually today. There's many songs that use very similar chord progression here. It's a very nice little pattern here. It's super accessible. So if you're writing, you're playing pop music, this is a super great chord progression that kind of blends classical and pop together. It's kind of cool. So let's learn this here. So the first chord is D. Now I just kind of picked a random inversion here. Hopefully you know your inversions, right? You can kind of invert chords in 3 positions, at least the triads. We do have basically a smart sheet on chord inversions at Piano Jonny, so hopefully you can kind of, if you've not familiar, you check that out. But anyway, all I'm doing is I'm picking random inversions that are close to one another between all these chords. Does that make sense? Okay, but anyway, let's learn the chords. So this first one's a D major chord, guys. D major, root position looks like this. D, F sharp, A, okay? Then A major, okay? So if you know your Roman numerals, it's 1 and 5. Okay, then our 6th chord is gonna be our, which is B minor. Then F sharp minor. So we got our F sharp, A, and C sharp. Okay, so these are our notes. Then they're G major. Okay, we kind of want to step up. Our 4 chord here, which is our G major chord. Then we're gonna go back to our D, then back to G again, okay, and then back to our A. Okay, so it's pretty cool chord progression, pretty easy. So try to play through this. Try to do different inversions if you can, if you're familiar with that. Get really familiar, intimately familiar with this chord progression. That's really gonna help you out. Not only in this tune, but from here on in, anything that you do, especially if you're serious about, playing, basically creating your own music or improvising and stuff, it's really gonna be the key to your success. So now we're gonna apply this stuff. We're gonna choose our left hand accompaniment. So we're basically gonna take our chords and make different patterns. So basically the first thing, I'm gonna keep melody number 1 on the right hand just for demonstration purposes, but our left hand is what we're really gonna be keying in on here. So basically all I'm doing is octaves and fifths. So I'm taking our root note of each of these chords, okay, putting in octaves. So that's an easy technique for our left hand. It thickens up that bass, but to thicken it even more, I'm gonna take the fifth of the chord. So our 1, 3, and 5. So every chord has our 1, 3, and 5, right, in our root position. So our fifth is gonna be this note, okay? So we're gonna take that of every chord, and basically it's almost like power chords. Really thickens up that bass. So this is also gonna be the basis of our our next few patterns as well, guys, because we're basically gonna break it up in different ways. So you can really do a lot with just the same thing. So that's something to keep in mind. So here we go. Let's try to play it. 3, 4. Cool, right? So pretty basic, pretty simple. So if you're just a beginner, that's a good place to start. It'll give you just a nice foundation to put whatever melody you want above it. So make sure you got that down. Okay, if you want to add a little bit more texture, a little bit faster pulse. Remember we talked about pulse? This one, basically, instead of just playing half notes, we're repeating one note. So in this case, we're repeating every top note in quarter notes. So we're going da, ba, so it almost creates like a little drone underneath, little, nice little pulse that we can feel underneath the melody in this case. Okay, so let's try this one. 3, 4. Right, pretty cool, right, guys? So hopefully you're kind of seeing now that how this kind of works, because this has a little bit more energy than this one. So, and when we're making our own arrangement, when we're playing the piece all the way through, we want to keep that in mind, because we're telling a story. We're going to be building more energy, more momentum, or maybe decreasing the energy, depending on what we're trying to do, right? So next, let's go to broken chords. Now this is an even faster pulse. We're actually introducing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Okay, you got this little broken. So we're basically taking that octave in fifth, just breaking it up. Okay, so we're gonna go from 2 eighth notes to a quarter note, and it's gonna create this nice little pattern here. Okay, so see how much we're doing with just this one pattern. Okay, so it's really gonna, you can continue to be creative with this this idea here. So let's try this one. 3, 4. Again, now we're gonna add slightly more energy, more momentum by repeating that fifth. So after we get to the top, so it's gonna be a nice, steady stream of eighth notes now. Okay, like this. So you've probably heard this feel before. Guys, we're not making it that much more complicated, but we're adding so much more just by simple changes. So keep that in mind. Let's try this one. Again, keep it kind of nice and slow. 3, 4. Okay, isn't that beautiful? So nice bed, nice, pianistic foundation to put whatever you want over it. So our fourth thing here, we're gonna add embellishments to the right hand. So basically we're gonna expand on the right hand stuff. In this case, there's a lot you can do, but to keep it kind of easy, we're just gonna use melody number 1 and just use some easy techniques here. The first thing is blocked harmony. So we're basically adding harmony to the notes. You can use thirds or sixths. So you see these first 2 measures, I'm using thirds to just kind of thicken up that melody. And then I'm switching to sixths, okay? Technically they're not all 6 because like this chord, and a 6 would kind of go out of the chord, so we're keeping it, in that case, a 5th, but it's the same idea there, so just keep that in mind when that comes up. But the rest are truly 6. So let's try to see how that sounds. 4. Okay, so that's already sounding a lot more professional, right? Just simple adding chords. This time we're gonna add harmony again, and I'm doing it in 6. Okay, everything's basically in 6 or a 5th. In this case, it works out that it goes from a 6 technically to a 5th each time, so 6 to 5th. That's just the way it kind of works out. You could do all straight 6, but you're gonna kind of going outside the chord, so it's a little bit more advanced. But to keep it easy, just keep everything within the chord. So it's like the idea. Okay, but we're gonna break it up in quarter notes. So, okay, try to accent the top note a little bit more. It's the melody, right? Okay. So just add a little bit more momentum kind of to the thing. All right, guys, so let's try it together with the right hand. 3, 4. Alright, so pretty cool, right, guys? So now let's put it all together. In number 5 here, we're going to create what's called an arrangement. So what that is you're kind of putting all these little techniques and pieces together, and you're kind of telling a story. So when you're doing that, you want to think about your energy level created by the techniques discussed in this lesson and try to tell a story with it. So we're going to create kind of a little arc of energy levels, right? Kind of. You're gonna kind of use these following elements to do that. We're gonna use the pulse, okay, the range, the texture, the complexity, and the dynamics. So you really want to think about all those little things when we're creating that story arc here. So I'm gonna run through this real briefly here. We're basically repeating the chord progression 5 times in this example. Okay, we're kind of repeating that whole chord progression and looping it in a way 5 times, and each time we're changing the energy level and telling a little bit of a story. And we're gonna go over how we kind of do that. We're going to start with low energy, go to medium energy, go to medium high energy, then go back to the lowest energy to end it off. So that's our little kind of story arc. Now, the first thing we're doing is we're starting with the quarter note pulse, okay? And we'll play it straight through at the very end. But quarter note pulse, okay, bass because the left hand is doing that repeat note thing. So kind of creating nice little low energy, but not too low, starting off with, like setting the mood. And then we're gonna expand upon it by doing the little faster of a pulse and more active texture because it's kind of we're breaking the arpeggios, more going on. So it's ramping up the energy with using those techniques. Now we're going to change the melody and increase the range. So we're actually going to take this up an octave. So both of those things, higher range means more energy, more emotion, and then new melody is a contrast. So it kind of ramps it up again. And then we're going to change the melody again and even have a faster pulse. This time we're doing a really fast pulse here, 16th notes, and it's a lot more active texture too. We got that last left-hand pattern we talked about with the most energy there. And then we're going to bring it all back down at the very end, lowest energy. We're going to do a really high range, slow pulse. These are all half notes, right? And we're playing that first melody again. And it's thicker kind of texture because we're all blocked, but it's less active. So, and then there's a little ending arpeggio that we have. So let's play straight through so we can kind of hear this, how it sounds. And I encourage you, once you're done playing through this and getting an idea, to kind of make your own arrangement. Alright guys, that'll be it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed that demonstration, but remember, it's just an example. I encourage you to get creative and make your own arrangement using the techniques we discussed in this lesson. You can make a longer arrangement, add more development. There's so much you can do. And with that being said, if you want a deeper dive into Canon and D, if you want to learn a lot more melodies, a lot more left-hand accompaniment patterns, a lot more tools and techniques to use in your right hand, even how to improvise or accompany other instruments on Canon and D, then I encourage you to check out the full-length course on Canon and D at pianowithjonny.com. There's a intermediate or beginner and intermediate course and an intermediate/advanced course where you can really take this to the next level and get a lot more sophisticated and advanced sound in your playing. So check it out. If you haven't seen pianowithjonny.com, it's an amazing platform where you can interact with other students, other members. You can get feedback from our instructors. There's new courses being added each and every month, and even monthly challenges and so much more. So that's it for this quick tip, guys. Thanks so much for checking it out, and I'll see you in the next one.